Is this finally the thing that gets him, or is UConn too tough here? You said they were robots. I do think it affects him some, but they're also young kids. Because think back to some of your worst travel days, like the ones that happen like ages 25 and younger. I feel like it doesn't affect you quite as much. Is there an actual place for this in the handicap? Because Alabama is getting 11.5 points.
I would say normally, yes. But here's the thing. UConn doesn't play until Saturday night. They're the late game on Saturday night, 8:49 in the East on Saturday. So what? It's a Thursday morning. They've got all day today, and I know they have practice. I know they have media obligations. I get that. But they have all day today. They have all day Friday to completely take it easy. And then they've got most of the day on Saturday. I'm not saying they're going to be lying in their beds all day, but for kids, this is plenty of time to recover. So if this were tomorrow, I'd be like, dude, this is going to be a problem. If this were tomorrow night, I'd really worry about this because it's going to take a while. And then you have a time change as well that you have to throw in there. But because they have so much time between now and Saturday, I really wouldn't worry about it. UConn is accustomed to this, right? Purdue is accustomed to this. Bama to a certain level. NC State in the ACC doesn't get top billing. So here they are in the Final Four. You would have never guessed this run. So I think they're the ones who will be most affected by the media attention because they're going to be the darlings until they're eliminated.
You should see the pictures from the meet and greet at the Raleigh Applebee's yesterday. Matt was saying this in the chat. There were people who were climbing trees just to get a view of DJ Burns. It looked like that viral video about the leprechaun. Do you know what I'm talking about? The one in Alabama where they're saying, did you see the leprechaun? That's what it looked like. People were climbing trees and going bananas for DJ Burns at his local Applebee's, hangout where he was doing a meet and greet with fans. So I do think that he is getting a lot more attention. I don't know if it actually has a place in the game, though, because I do think Zach Edey is pretty much matchup proof here. It will be dependent on how they officiate the game. And we've talked about this before. If Zach Edey gets the calls, if he goes to the free throw line 45 times, it's going to be a team that's tough to beat. However, NC State still remaining strong, getting 9.5 points here and a total at 145.5. Kevin Keatts was on the precipice of maybe not even coaching at NC State last year or this year. Do we have full faith in Kevin Keatts now?
I think there's people that are coming around. I would say so. I mean, obviously, like him or love him, he's here to stay because he's already got an extended 2-year contract. He's got a $400,000 bonus per year, and that was just off the ACC tournament. So, I think there's a lot of fans that are coming around and saying, okay, maybe it was really just the composition of this team as a whole. I mean, there were seven transfers that came in. Along with a true freshman and Dennis Parker Jr. that hasn't been able to play during the ACC or NCAA tournament. It really seems like, and as crazy as it sounds, you needed, quite a while for this team to truly come together. I mean, the best teams that are Kevin Keatts have been the ones that have had these preseason, trips to, one was to Italy, one was to the Bahamas last year. And it's like, once they can get get their chemistry down early on in the season, they've been really good teams. And those have been the two teams that made the NCAA tournament prior. It's just the chemistry of this team finally came together at the very end. And I think there's some positive vibes in terms of the players that are going to come back for next year too. I think that's going to play a large part in this as well. Kevin Keatts really, changed the way that he coached down the stretch this season. You saw the kind of a desperation from him that I don't think we've ever seen before. Now, again, you still didn't see that kind of pay off until the very end of the season because they were able to kind of get things going down the stretch, but they still weren't able to win games. Once they started winning some games, you've seen some new wrinkles thrown in there. You've seen guys play new roles, like I said, with Michael O'Connell, Ben Middlebrooks, Mo Diarra, all those guys playing new roles in this system. And Kevin Keatts and his coaching staff have relied on them more heavily. And I think that plays a huge part in knowing that he's the right guy moving forward too.
Are you worried at all about the the media attention that has come with NC State getting this far, because they are sort of the darlings of the 4 teams remaining, just because they weren't expected to be here and because of the personalities on that team?
I don't know. I mean, I would have thought that going into the Sweet 16, because, I mean, I saw DJ Burns outside of the team hotel leading up to the Sweet 16, and he was waiting on an Uber, and he goes, man, I just got to get the bleep out of here. I was like, what's going on? He's like, yeah. He's like, NCAA followed me the entire time around the court, during practice, and then they showed up and knocked on my door and asked to come into my room to shoot me laying on the bed. He's like, yeah, I mean, it's getting a little much. So the fact that they've kind of gotten over that hump, this team obviously is still the darlings, but, like, I think, with how much people have written about them and how much people have done with them, I think nationally there may be some running out of storylines. It's like, all right, we've got what we want. We can let this team breathe a little bit. We'll see. But this has been, I think if you were concerned about the media circus surrounding this team, my concern would have been more of the Sweet 16 Elite 8. I think they're kind of like, hey, we understand the pressure. We understand the attention now. I think they're, full go heading into this weekend.
I do think he was not happy. Don't we all kind of see the little breadcrumbs of what was going on here? So I don't know if he asked for a trade. I don't know if he had any hand in this, but it did feel like these two needed a fresh start. Like maybe he needed a fresh start away from Buffalo, and maybe the Bills needed to get somebody other than him. I think the question is now, even though he may have caused some headaches, he's still a tried and true number 1 receiver. So who's going to take over that top spot in Buffalo? And will this make Josh Allen's job harder if they don't draft a receiver? Yeah. One would think that the cap space that it clears up, I think it freed up like $27 million in cap space. So clearly they have some money to go out and get somebody. But do you think the Bills will miss Stephon Diggs?
Yes and no. And I say this for a couple of reasons. Matt just put this in the chat. I gotta give credit to whoever puts facts in the chat, because really what I do is on this show, people just put things in the chat and I just repeat it. You know what I mean? There's nothing going on up in my brain. But Matt made a very good point, which is the Bills are taking a $30 million dead cap hit. So if you're willing to part ways with someone and take that hit on the cap, then clearly you want someone gone. But I saw this yesterday, and you know how teams are. They look at metrics now, and they look at analytics more than ever. And if you look at Stephon Diggs and how he performed at the beginning of the season versus how he performed at the end of the season, there was a significant drop-off in the second half. Now, he's only 30 years old. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler, and certainly I'm not suggesting that he's on the downside of his career. But I think if you look at those metrics and you say, okay, maybe at least now, maybe he's not quite the receiver based on these numbers, and he's giving us constant headaches, maybe it's time to make a move. So I think all of those factors together sort of precipitated the Bills wanting to move on from him. And again, if you're willing to take a hit like this on the cap, you want a guy out.